Hello and welcome to the first episode of Hardcore Quest Text. My name is Daelin, and before we start the first episode, I want to give you an idea of what this video series is about. What you are about to watch is a dramatic hardcore playthrough on the Classic Era servers. World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore is a community gaming mode developed to give an extra level of challenge to players. One life. If you die, you have to delete your character. This hardcore playthrough is more focused on telling the in-game story rather than actual gameplay. Think of it more like a hardcore RP playthrough from a character's point of view. I figured that this would be an entertaining way to tell it, since it has added stakes and gives you, the viewer, a possible attachment to the character. With the added possibility of this character dying, this series could just end abruptly. If this does happen, I plan on making another character from a different starting zone, giving another perspective in the same style as this video. Hopefully I won't have to do that till much later on, but you never know. The other thing you may have noticed is this voice is not an actual person, but using speech synthesis. A couple of videos have been circulating of people using these voice tools to read out loud quest text. This is what initially inspired me to make this series in the first place. However, you are going to see a few things here that will separate this series from those videos. Without further ado, here is episode 1. Enjoy. The city of Stormwind has always been a beacon of hope and safety, a place where the people of the Alliance can come together and thrive. As a citizen of Stormwind, I feel a sense of pride and loyalty to my city that runs deep. From the towering walls and shining towers of the castle, to the bustling markets and quiet alleyways of the old town, Stormwind is a place of beauty and wonder. But being a citizen of Stormwind isn't just about enjoying the sights and sounds of the city. It's also about taking care of one another and working together to build a better future for all of us. I had lived a peaceful life as a farmer in the outskirts of Stormwind since my time here as a refugee of Lordaeron. But when the local threats began to grow, and with most of Stormwind's army spread thin, I knew that I couldn't just sit idly by and watch my beloved city fall to fear. I felt a deep sense of duty to protect the people and the land I had grown to love. Stormwind welcomed my family with open arms when we arrived with the other refugees of Lordaeron. It was well past the time to pay my dues. I dusted off my sword and shield and walked down the path to Northshire Abbey to report to Deputy Willem.
I hope you strapped your belt on tight, young warrior, because there is work to do here in Northshire. And I don't mean farming. The Stormwind guards are hard-pressed to keep the peace here, with so many of us in distant lands and so many threats pressing close. And so we're enlisting the aid of anyone willing to defend their home and their alliance. If you're here to answer the call, then speak with my superior, Marshal McBride. He's inside the abbey behind me.
I made my way into the abbey and met with Marshal McBride. He gave a look of relief when I spoke with him.
Hey, citizen, you look like a stout one. We guards are spread a little thin out here, and I could use your help. Ah, good. Another volunteer. We're getting a lot of you these days. I hope it's enough. The human lands are threatened from without, and so many of our forces have been marshaled abroad. This in turn leaves room for corrupt and lawless groups to thrive within our borders. It is a many-fronted battle we wage, Daelin. Gird yourself for a long campaign.
He then briefed me on my first task in Northshire.
Your first task is one of cleansing, Daelin. A clan of kobolds have infested the woods to the north. Go there and fight the kobold vermin you find. Reduce their numbers so that we may one day drive them from Northshire.
McBride suggested I check back in with Deputy Willem. It sounded like he may have another task for me.
Egan Peltskinner is looking for someone to hunt wolves for him. That's good news, because we're seeing a lot more wolves in Northshire Valley lately. If you're interested, then speak with Egan. He's around the side of the abbey to the left.
I hustled my way around the abbey and found Egan with his supplies. I asked him about the wolf situation.
That's true. I'm looking for someone to hunt me some wolves. Are you that person? I hate those nasty timber wolves. but I sure like eating wolf steaks. Bring me tough wolf meat, and I will exchange it for something you'll find useful. Tough wolf meat is gathered from hunting the timber wolves and young wolves wandering the Northshire countryside.
I ran over a short distance to find that the hillside had numerous wolves. I began the process of culling them off and collecting whatever suitable meat I could find. I found 8 meaty chunks I thought that Egan would approve of. I also managed to find a small group of kobolds nearby. I cleared the small camp they put together and made my way back over to the Abbey to see Egan and Marshal McBride.
Hey, Daelin, I'm getting hungry. Did you get that tough wolf meat?
I handed over the meat I collected to Egan.
You've been busy. I can't wait to cook up that wolf meat. I have some things here you might want. Take your pick.
I picked out some nice leather bracers that Egan made out of wolf pelt and started to run back over to see Marshal McBride to inform him on the kobolds I took out.
Well done, citizen. Those kobolds are thieves and cowards, but in large numbers they pose a threat to us. And the humans of Stormwind do not need another threat. For defeating them, you have my gratitude.
Marshal McBride then mentioned he had something for me and produced an envelope.
I was asked to bring this to your attention as soon as you returned from the kobold camps, Daelin. It appears to be a letter sealed with the insignia of Lane, our local warrior trainer. I wouldn't hesitate to read it before you go about any other business here in the Abbey.
McBride handed me the letter, and I began to read.
Tell me, warrior, have you heard an orc scream yet? Perhaps defended your home from gnolls as they seek to tear your throat out? Yeah, sounds harsh, doesn't it? Well, you're gonna need my help if you want to protect your loved ones. You'll find me inside the Abbey in Northshire. My knowledge doesn't come cheap, but if you're experienced enough, I can train you in a number of styles and moves that will help you fight off the threats to Stormwind and beyond. Lane Bashir, warrior trainer.
I walked over to Lane to introduce myself and handed him the letter he wrote.
Ah, you got my letter, Daelin? Good. There's been an influx of warriors in Elwyn recently, which is good for Stormwind but bad for the kobolds and Defias in the area. Get yourself squared away, learn the layout of the land, and come back to me whenever you need training. I'll be here night or day. The Knights of the Silver Hand have done well in making this place fairly safe, but as you meet the other citizens, I think you'll find they all have problems they could use some help with. Help a warrior can give them. Good luck.
Walking back, I overheard Marshal McBride speaking with someone. It sounded like more kobolds had been spotted.
Daelin, my scouts tell me that the kobold infestation is larger than we had thought. A group of kobold workers has camped near the Echo Ridge mine to the north. Go to the mine and remove them. We know there are at least 10. Kill them. See if there are more, then report back to me.
McBride also mentioned that we may have a new problem with bandits and thieves on the other side of the river. I spoke with Deputy Willem on what he knew.
Recently, a new group of thieves has been hanging around Northshire. They call themselves the Defias Brotherhood and have been seen across the river to the east. I don't know what they're up to, but I'm sure it's not good. Bring me the bandanas they wear, and I'll reward you with a weapon.
I first went to scout out near the mine to see for myself. Sure enough, the entrance was swarming with the little guys. One after the other, I dispatched a number of kobolds with my blade. I took out the 10 kobolds the scouts spotted, but there were well more than that roaming around the ridge. They seemed to be operating within the mine itself. I rushed back over to report what I found to McBride.
I don't like hearing of all these kobolds in our mine. No good can come of this. Here, take this as payment, and when you're ready, speak to me again. I would like you to go back to the mines one more time. Your previous investigations are proof that the Echo Ridge mine needs purging. Return to the mine and help clear it of kobolds. Waste no time, Daelin. The longer the kobolds are left unmolested in the mine, the deeper a foothold they gain in Northshire.
While maybe not the exact verbiage I would use, the point McBride was making stood true. Those kobolds need to be dealt with. I entered the Echo Ridge mine and immediately saw what an unchecked kobold problem looks like firsthand. The further you go, the more of them you see, always concerned that you're going to take away their precious candle. As I descended into the dark and dank depths of the Echo Ridge mine, I could feel the weight of my sword and shield on my back and the sweat on my brow. The air was thick with the scent of dirt and sweat, and the only sounds were the echoes of my footsteps and the distant skittering of small creatures. I did manage to find some quiet places within those depths. I took the moment in as best as I could and regained my strength. After catching my breath, I started to navigate back to the entrance of the mine. It felt like I had fought more kobolds on my way out than on my way in. Leaving the mine, I took in a big breath of fresh air and let out a sigh of relief. Despite still having kobolds in the mine, I left a stark message to those who remain. I made my way back to the Abbey to report back to Marshal McBride.
Once again, you have earned my respect and the gratitude of the Stormwind Army. There may yet be kobolds in the mine, but I will marshal others against them. We have further tasks for you.
While walking the halls of the Abbey, I found a book that caught my eye. Civil War in the Plaguelands, a brief recounting of what happened after the evacuation of Lordaeron. I couldn't help but flip the pages. Ner'zhul, the Lich King, knew that his time was short. Imprisoned within the Frozen Throne, he suspected that Kil'jaeden would send his agents to destroy him. The damage caused by Illidan's spell had ruptured the Frozen Throne. Thus, the Lich King was losing his power daily. Desperate to save himself, he called his greatest mortal servant to his side, the Death Knight, Prince Arthas. Though his powers were drained by the Lich King's weakness, Arthas had been involved in a civil war in Lordaeron. Half of the standing undead forces, led by the Banshee Sylvanas Windrunner, staged a coup for control over the undead empire. Arthas, called by the Lich King, was forced to leave the scourge in the hands of his lieutenant, Kel'Thuzad, as the war escalated throughout the Plaguelands. Ultimately, Sylvanas and her rebel undead, known as the Forsaken, claimed the ruined capital city of Lordaeron as their own. Constructing their own bastion beneath the wrecked city, the Forsaken vow to defeat the Scourge and drive Kel'Thuzad and his minions from the land. Weakened, but determined to save his master, Arthas reached Northrend only to find Illidan's Naga and Blood Elves waiting for him. He and his Nerubian allies raced against Illidan's forces to reach the ice-crowned glacier and defend the Frozen Throne. Reading those pages brought a weight on my soul that I hadn't felt in a long time, a reminder of a past I want to forget, a past that required a toll on my body, mind, and soul. The best thing for me is to just take a moment, reflect, accept the past, and move on. I can't just wallow in sorrow for the families and homes we lost. I need to be the beacon of hope for those around me. Before I left the Abbey, I took some time with Lane so he could teach me a few new skills and techniques. On my way to the other side of the river, I ran into some curious people milling around in the graveyard. I tried to say hi, but...
The darkness does not embrace you, warrior. Cease your prattle and remove yourself from my sight. Be gone!
You're no warlock and I've no time for you. Be gone!
Okay, I'll make sure not to make that mistake next time. They don't seem to be the friendly type. I brushed myself off and continued onward towards the river. Even before crossing the bridge, you could see numerous bandits roaming outside the vineyard and the riverside. It was important not to get the attention of too many bandits. I may be old, but I still know how to keep up in a fight, just can't be way outnumbered. By the end of it, I fought and defeated 12 bandits, collecting each of their bandanas along the way. I then ventured back to the Abbey to see Deputy Willem.
Have you gathered those bandanas for me yet?
I handed what I had.
Back with some bandanas, I see. The Stormwind Army appreciates your help.
He handed me a new sword. He then mentioned a few other issues dealing with the bandits.
You've shown yourself a dependable warrior, Daelin. Dependable, and not afraid to get your hands dirty, eh? I have a friend, Millie Osworth, who's in some trouble. She's over with her wagon on the other side of the Abbey, near the stable. I'm sure she could use a pair of hands like yours.
He then mentioned a man named Garrick Padfoot.
Garrick Padfoot, a cutthroat who's plagued our farmers and merchants for weeks, was seen at a shack near the vineyards, which lies east of the Abbey and across the bridge. Bring me the villain's head and earn his bounty. But be wary, Daelin. Garrick has gathered a gang of thugs around him. He will not be an easy man to reach.
I walked around the Abbey and found the stable, with Millie next to the wagon. I approached her and introduced myself and that Deputy Willem had sent me over to help her out.
Oh, Deputy Willem told you to speak with me? He's a brave man and always willing to help. but his duties keep him stuck at Northshire Abbey, and I'm afraid the problem I have today is beyond him. Perhaps you can help me.
I agreed to help her out with her problem.
A gang of brigands, the Defias, moved into the Northshire vineyards while I was harvesting. I reported it to the Northshire guards, and they assured me they'd take care of things. But I'm afraid for my crop of grapes. If the Defias don't steal them, then I fear our guards will trample them when they chase away the thugs. Please, you must help me. I gathered most of my grapes into buckets, but I left them in the vineyards to the southeast. Bring me those crates. Save my harvest.
I ran back over the bridge and fought my way over to the vineyard. I had to fight off more bandits than I would have liked, but I managed to gather all the grapes that Millie had harvested. I then went looking for that Garrick Padfoot. Looking past the vineyard, I found a small shack that Garrick and one of his lackeys were hanging out by. I charged in and fought off Garrick's guard easily, but Garrick himself proved himself a tougher fight. With one final blow, I had taken his head clean off. I took his head as a grisly trophy as proof to the deputy. I brought over the harvest back to Millie. She thanked me for the help.
Do you have my harvest, Daelin? Oh, thank you, Daelin. You saved my harvest, and I hope you showed a few of those Defias that they can't cause trouble around here. We might be short on guards these days, but we're lucky to have heroes like you to protect us. Now that my crop is saved, take this grape manifest to Brother Niels. He manages the store of food and drink in Northshire, and I'm sure he'll be delighted to hear that he has fresh grapes. You'll find Brother Niels in the Abbey, in the bell tower, where he likes to taste his wine.
Did you find Garrick's shack? Are we finally free of that villain?
I showed him the proof.
Ha! You caught him! You've done Elwyn a great service and earned a nice bounty.
I made my way back into the Abbey to hand over the manifest to Brother Niels. I decided to look it over before I gave it to him.
Brother Niels, my grapes are saved. Daelin, the bearer of this manifest, braved my thug-infested vineyard and gathered the grapes that I could not. Although the Defias still roam across the river, nearly my entire crop has been salvaged. You may add a full load of grape bushels to your stores. May the light protect us. Millie Osworth.
I walked up to Brother Niels and greeted him.
You look to be in fine spirits. Come, have a seat and have a drink.
I gave him the manifest for him to read.
Let's see here. Oh my, Millie's grapes have been saved. When she told me that brigands overran her vineyards, I nearly despaired. But my faith in the light did not waver. And through your bravery, we now have grapes for more wine. May the light bless you, Daelin, and keep you safe.
I bid Brother Niels a farewell and reported to Marshal McBride. It looks like I'm leaving the Abbey and reporting down south to Goldshire.
Daelin, you are a warrior with proven interest in the security of Northshire. You are now tasked with the protection of the surrounding Elwyn Forest. If you accept this duty, then I have prepared papers that must be delivered to Marshal Dugan in Goldshire. Goldshire lies along the southern road, past the border gates. You are dismissed, Daelin.
I said my goodbyes to everyone else and began walking down the road. I decided to look over the documents McBride gave me. It was going to be a bit of a walk anyway.
Report, kobolds. The activity of kobolds has increased in the vicinity of Northshire Valley. They camp north of the Abbey and within the Echo Ridge mine in alarming numbers. I've marshaled paladins, warriors, and other local folk to aid me in ridding us of the vermin. This progresses well, and I will update as needed. Report, thieves. More alarming than the kobolds, a human gang of thieves has emerged in the valley. They wear red bandanas and call themselves a brotherhood. This level of organization may lead to trouble, both here and in all of Elwyn Forest. We have identified one of their leaders, one Garrick Padfoot, and hope to bring him to justice soon. Report, wolves. There has been an increase in reported animal attacks in Northshire. Egan believes the wolves in the valley were scared here from Duskwood. Although the wolves rarely hunt human prey, the sheer number of them has caused some incidents with farmers, and many livestock have gone missing. Commendation. The bearer of these documents is to be awarded deputy status with the Stormwind Army. Having served Northshire with eagerness and distinction, I am confident you will find this person useful in Elwyn Forest. Signed, Marshal Douglas McBride, Stormwind Army, Northshire.
Deputy Daelin, huh? That has a nice ring to it. Before passing the border gate, I ran into a man named Falcon Insinstrider. He waved over to me.
Every adventurer should rest when exhaustion sets in, and there is no finer place to get rest and relaxation than at the Lion's Pride Inn. My best friend, Innkeeper Farley, runs the Lion's Pride. If you tell him I sent you, he may give you the special discounted rates on food and drink. To find the Lion's Pride Inn, travel south along the road from here. You can't miss it.
It was time to hit the road south to Goldshire and report to Marshal Dugan. But maybe it would be a good idea to visit the Lion's Pride Inn first, before I hand over the report. Besides, I could rest these aching bones for a moment. Before I knew it, I was walking into the Lion's Pride Inn and felt the warmth of the inn's hearth and took the short rest I needed. And so ends the first chapter of my journey. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and we will see you in the next episode of Hardcore Quest Text. Take care for now. Goodbye.